Listen. So award season is upon us, and it's crazy to think how late into this year we'll still be talking about last year, but obviously we won't be forgetting anything about 2020 anytime soon, and I think that includes a lot of the movies that were released last year by filmmakers who didn't leave us high and dry and push back their features, and I think there were a lot of great ones. So to start off the award season, we have the 30th Annual Gotham Awards. Let me explain. Now, like I said, 2020 may have felt like a slow year, but there were a lot of movies that were released around the world, and thanks to our sponsor, literally thanks to them, we were able to catch a lot that were restricted.
Hey! Perhaps I could be of some assistance.
Obviously, this year's road to the Oscars got a little detour since the Gothams are in January, the Golden Globes won't be till February 28th, the rest of the big ones aren't until March, and the Academy Awards aren't until April 25th. But one thing's for sure, there are a lot of movies to appreciate. Now, last year, the Gothams were practically the Marriage Story Awards since they swept everything, and I agree with my boy Andres that y'all were way too harsh on it. I mean, besides your dancing, this year was a solid lineup with Relic, a family horror we mentioned in our Sundance coverage about a missing grandmother in a haunted home. The Assistant, for people who didn't like Promising Young Woman, which has a great performance by Julie Garner as a promising young film producer who works as an assistant witnessing the abuse of power that plagues that industry. But my two favorites out of the lineup were Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which boasts Eliza Hittman's masterful direction as we follow two cousins on an unexpected trip to New York to find the support they wouldn't have back home. And First Cow, Kelly Reichardt's slow burn that I'll defend to the death about two partners who start up a business by stealing the only available dairy in town. But obviously, there can only be one winner.
Nomadland!
Now, first off, Kristen Milioti presented this award, and she's been having a killer year because she's hysterical in everything she's in. So if you were ever trapped in Palm Springs with her, at least she'd keep you laughing.
However, the past few weeks have been somewhat dramatic as the winner was disputed when Rudy Giuliani made a legal challenge to the legitimacy of the voting process, claiming the 2004 film Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2, starring Jon Voight and Scott Baio, was illegitimately excluded from consideration.
As for Nomadland, look, this is going to be the strong one this whole award season. Like, it's going to have the biggest campaign. And here it took Best Feature, the Best Audience Award. And I personally hope that Chloe gets a lot more directing noms, considering her hybrid approach on mixing professional and non-actors who played versions of themselves, even having meetings at a Planet Fitness parking lot because they were always in motion. Personally, I do wish the movie covered 80% of what the book that it's based on covered, but its chances to go all the way are strong, even though I'm still rooting for Me Not Eat to Surprise.
I have a lot of admiration for these writers, and I also hate them.
Now, in terms of Best Screenplay, Bad Education was my favorite out of the lineup by far. It's one of my favorite of the year. We did a whole video on this. We even have a whole interview with the director, so obviously it's the top of the top for me. First Cow follows that up, which is also in my top 10, and I think it's a great script. Vast of Night, I felt would have made for a great podcast. Turns out that was kind of the approach, so obviously the script is fantastic, but surprisingly there was a tie in this one between 14, which we shouted out in our Intercut Midway Best of 2020 video last year about two friends who grow over a decade, but in different directions. And it's by Dan Sallitt, a critic-turned-filmmaker who I'm really happy is getting recognized with this movie, along with 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Now, this was one of my favorites from Sundance, written, directed, produced, and starring Radha as a playwright-turned-rapper who had one of the best comedies of last year. It's available on Netflix. Now, in terms of breakthrough director, my personal favorite would have been Carlo Miravella Davis for Swallow, which we made a whole video on. I think it's absolutely fantastic and one of my favorites of the year. There's also Radha, who we just said practically did everything for the 40-year-old version, but it was also cool to see Alex Thompson get some recognition for St. Francis, a movie that we really recommended back in 2019 South by Southwest Festival, as well as Channing Godfrey Peoples' Sundance feature, Miss Juneteenth. But the winner was Andrew Patterson for The Vast of Night, which you can catch on Prime. It was one of Zach's favorites of last year, and I gotta admit, it's got one of the best long takes in a movie that I've seen in a long while. And a reminder that Kevin Durant had an assist with this flick.
In fact, that's kind of how my camera crew came together for The Vast of Night. And so if Kevin Durant had been 100% happy in Oklahoma City, my company never would have gotten the job, and then the budget for The Vast of Night might not have been what it is. And so he has a very direct connection to why we're all sitting here tonight. So.
In terms of docs, last year was a crazy year. For this lineup, they had nominated Our Time Machine, the story of a son trying to immortalize his father's memories before his dad's dementia worsens. City Hall, which showcases Boston's government as we follow the mayor and other public servants during different tasks, which was kind of a theme in 2020 with other similar films like Mayor, which follows Musa Hadid as he governs the city of Ramallah in the Middle East. And of course, my favorite, City So Real, which follows the mayoral races of Chicago while exploring every ward in the city. But what's cool about City Hall is that it's on PBS for free. So if you're interested in catching all 4 hours and 34 minutes, it's right there for you. 76 Days was also nominated, and this covers the first wave of the virus in Wuhan, as told by 3 directors, one of which remained anonymous in order to not lose his job. But when you look at last year and how American Factory won the Gotham and then went all the way, it's interesting to see that this year we also had a tie again. Garrett Bradley's Time, which is showing on Prime, was awarded, and I believe it's going to be one of the strongest ones in this award season. But Fox Rich's decades-long story on a struggle to appeal her husband's 60-year prison sentence, yeah, that's going to be something that's going to be brought up in a lot of best of the decade lists when it all wraps.
See everyone, I don't see. Well, okay, thank you so much. This is so strange. They told me I won. Yeah.
1,000 Cuts was also fantastic, and that's what tied with it. It breaks down the Philippine government and how they're able to create their own ecosystem of misinformation to bamboozle people, and they know how to spread it exponentially. It showcases how they try to suppress media and arrest reporters for, reporting, and how these algorithms that they're creating don't even come from people inside that country, but other entities that are practicing them in other countries to then port them back to theirs when they got everything worked out. They're dealing with a president who has dancers at his rallies. This man has his own Steve Wilco who's deciding to run for Senate. Like, his plan to protect the youth from drugs is to kill any youth who uses drugs.
Kinabuhi sa libong-libong kabatan-unang Pilipino na nangadaot ang kaugmahon tungod sa illegal nga droga.
Between this and The Dissident, both explore the dangers that journalism faces in this era of social media. And again, this one's on PBS, so it's dope to have them accessible and not behind a paywall, because it's always ironic to wonder why lies are spreading and the truth isn't, when y'all are treating it like a privilege. In terms of the best international features, we might have to make a whole video on these for all the ones that came out, but Wolfwalkers was a fantastic tale that I really hope is able to win the best animation, because even Pixar had to go back to 2D in order to compete with them. Beanpole, which is showing on Movie, I thought was a fantastic flick, along with Bacurau, which is playing on Criterion. Martin Eden was a great movie, and there was even Netflix's...
The inaugural Gotham for Best International Feature Award goes to Identifying Features, directed by Fernanda Valadez and produced by Astrid Rondero.
Easily one of my favorites, and one I also cut at Sundance. The only interesting thing I'll say about this is that the movie should technically be called Non-Identifying Features, but they called it Identifying Features. It's a movie that some may find slow. There's a lot of shots that may just look like just bokeh shots, but one of my favorite movies of the year by far, and one that, even seeing it at a press screening, as soon as it ended, clearly nobody got what the message of the movie was, but I did. I thought it was fantastic. And the other one I would recommend here is also I'm No Longer Here. Now, really quick, want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Surfshark, especially as we just covered the international features, because not only do they support this channel, but when it comes to streaming movies, they may not even be in your area. One of the best parts about having a VPN is the ability to bypass streaming restrictions that limit, the World Wide Web. So it's awesome to see someone who has this mantra that things shouldn't be behind borders. So if you wanted to catch the buzzworthy Rocks, which is only on Netflix UK, you can do it with a VPN. Sponge out of water without crossing the pond? A VPN. If you didn't want to get a knock at your door for watching The Dissident, then a VPN is a very handy tool. On top of that, it comes with a seamless ad blocker so you won't be tracked across sites, extra security for when you hop on hotspots, a cool little tool called HackLock to notify you whenever your passwords have been compromised, and the best part is that it can be used on all your devices, indoors and outdoors. So if you're interested, head over to surfshark.deal/letmeexplain and get 83% off when you use the promo code LetMeExplain, along with 3 months free. So if you wanted to catch up on all the Oscar contenders that may still not be in your area, it's the perfect time to do it. So a big shout out to Surfshark for sponsoring. In terms of the television awards, they do one that's under 40 minutes and then series that are over 40 minutes. But for the under 40, it was cool to see Dave be up there because I thought it was a pretty funny show. And seeing Lil Dicky with a Gotham nom is riddle me that, right? Betty is the HBO adaptation of Skate Kitchen, which I thought was great and proves that we're in that era where it's no longer TV shows getting a movie, but movies getting a TV show. But obviously the winner was going to be I May Destroy You. I've caught like 750 movies this past year, so this is one of the many series that I have in my backlog waiting to just be binged. changed, but Zach named it as his #1 show, so I cannot wait to experience. In terms of the over 40, obviously Watchmen. I think it's gotten a lot of praise, so I'll just say, how is Devs not nominated in this? For Breakthrough Actor, looking at last year's, it was cool to see Taylor Russell win because, we're still thinking about waves. But my pick would have been Jonathan Majors because this man had an incredible follow-up year. Jasmine Batchelor was also nominated for The Surrogate, which I think is a very interesting movie that tackles a lot of different subjects, and it sticks to its guns even if it's going to peeve some people. Orion Lee for First Cow, who was a true supporting role.
Like to open a hotel someday.
With wild huckleberry pies. It's nice.
St. Francis also got another mention for Kelly Sullivan's performance, but my top 2 from these noms would have easily been Sydney Flanagan for Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which, the awards for whatever reason decided to play the climax of the movie as their clip for this, but it is on HBO Max, it's one of the best of the year, and I highly recommend it. But look, Kingsley Ben-Adir, easily one of the standouts for One Night in Miami. I personally think it's one of the best casts, and this man killed it. I do want to say some honorable mentions here because I have been rooting for this person completely, and that's Helena Zengel for System Crasher. I truly think she's going to be a star. I'm just putting it right here. She deserved a nomination as well.
Dann switchen wir mal ganz kurz zu den Hausaufgaben.
In terms of the tributes, we had a couple. Ryan Murphy got a tribute for uploading to Netflix. There was an NYC award that went to Jeffrey Wright, who is super underrated in my opinion. Like, he gets recognized, but not enough. And I know that a lot of people dismissed the recent Netflix movie that he had, but I didn't think it was that bad. It came from the writer of Black Panther, and a lot of people like The Sun, so I don't see why I don't like that one. Steve McQueen got a tribute, which was presented by Lupita, and that man honestly deserved it. 5 movies in 1 year. And the Chadwick tribute was a standout. It's the one speech of the night that I recommend you watch after this video. And I mean, honestly, stop the video right now and go watch it, because I was holding back tears along with his wife as she spoke. Viola Davis also received a tribute, but not a nomination, which is interesting, but it was still a stacked list, Yeo Jung-yoon as the Mountain Dew drinking grandma from Minari was fantastic. Frances McDormand, who acted alongside real-life nomads as she traveled the states, did an incredible job. Carrie Coon, who personally I think gave one of the top 3 performances in The Nest, as she embodies Sean Durkin's script based on his childhood. And Jessie Buckley from I'm Thinking of It.
Best Actress goes to Nicole Beharie in Miss Juneteenth.
Oh my God. Okay. Right.
For Best Actor, it was nice to see John Magaro and Jesse Plemons for First Cow and I'm Thinking of Ending Things get some respect thrown their way. But in my opinion, just overall, Anthony Hopkins, who I guess wasn't eligible, that man gave the best performance of the year. I'm still rooting for Chadwick. I'm rooting for Lindo, Stephen Yeun. But damn, I didn't know how much I loved hearing.
Best Actor goes to Riz Ahmed for The Sound of Metal.
In my opinion, this man better get more nominations in the coming months. I want to see him win because I want to hear those speeches. I don't know how many people know this, but he is also a rapper, and this man was ready to drop some bars.
Surrender to the dance of uncertainty, and it feels like a very wobbly time, but if we can all wobble together, maybe we might find ourselves dancing.
Overall, I thought it was a solid lineup, and it's a show that definitely had its glitches, but recognized some amazing films. And I think it's going to be interesting, not just to see a season full of awards, but how they're going to be presented with the internet now being the biggest stage. That said, Best Ensemble went to Chicago 7 when One Night was right there. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I'm curious to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I'm always curious to hear your personal picks for Best Actors, Screenplay, Picture, because as fun as it is covering these award shows, at the end of the day, I think we all just see them as promo, considering how these films do have campaigns. So it's really just a spotlight, for these movies, to shine a light on them and to recognize movies that many people may not have on their radar. But I'm always curious to see what films connected with people the most, especially around the world. So feel free to let me know your picks. And until next time, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll get Bruce Willis to wear a mask.